Super Talk 99.7 WTN 906. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday. Hallelujah. It has been, boy, I am not sure I have experienced a week like this in news in a very long time. Thank God for that. The only time I can liken it to, quite frankly, would be during our tornadoes. But that didn't, craziness didn't happen every day when our tornadoes occurred here a couple of years ago. And then we had the 1998 tornadoes. The only other thing I can liken it to would be when 9/11 happened, and every day there was something new. Every day something new would happen. Today, well, first you have 3 members of the Tennessee House very nearly incite a riot at the Capitol, and you cannot tell me that's not what they wanted to do. We'll get into that in a minute. Then a former president is indicted in a blatantly political move. I'm not sure I recognize my country anymore. I know a lot of people are describing it as being on a path to a banana republic. Boy, you might be right. And this weekend, yes, because I have no life, so this weekend I may sit down and do some research on what a banana republic actually is. We had, of course, our shootings that happened, and today, of course, begins the funeral season of what happened on Monday. Evelyn Dykes. Am I saying her name right? Dickhouse? Dickhouse. She is being buried today, the 9-year-old. Her family describes her as a shining light, so they're asking all the guests to attend the funeral not to wear black, but to wear joyful colors like pink and whatnot, in a tribute to Evelyn's light and love.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
It's awesome. It's beautiful.
It really is. And so now our community's going through the real mourning process. I think it's been shock, and now mourning begins, and then getting on with your life begins, which is actually the hardest part of all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but welcome to Friday. All right, so let's get into some things that happened yesterday. First of all, I want to play a message for you. Now, our lawmakers are in session. I'm not going to tell you which lawmaker. We've got quite a bit on the Senate side and on the House side. And I received a message just to show me what they're going through at the Capitol after this shooting. You've got a lot of people calling offices of lawmakers and, in my opinion, making veiled threats. So you can't tell me that they're not a little on edge, right? So first, let's start with this. I've edited it. There was at least one curse word that we can't use here on the radio. So I've edited it, but that's the only thing I've edited. This is a voicemail message left to one of our lawmakers this week. Do you have my computer on? Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is, by the way, my problem. I'm just not used to the way this computer's set up. So here we go. This is the message.
See, the only thing you people can do is hide behind your machines. Guns kill. That's what they're for. AR-15s kill. That's what they're for. You people don't worship Jesus. You worship guns. You're the most diseased human beings that there are on the planet. Guns, 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 guns. The best thing that could happen is have your family get shot up. Maybe you change your mind. That's what it seems to take.
Can you believe that? And, there's probably worse messages than that. Look, when our beloved Phil Valentine died, I can't tell you the kind of messages I got. They were awful. They were terrible, hate-filled. So this guy thinks that maybe your family should get shot up. Maybe then you'll listen. That's just crazy. And that obviously then terrifies members of our law enforcement and their staffers. I said law enforcement. I'm sorry, members of our General Assembly and their staffers getting messages like this week. So then let's fast forward here to yesterday. Now, I knew and others knew that a protest was happening yesterday at the state capitol. In fact, after the candlelight vigil with the city Wednesday night, Justin Jones, after the service was over, took to the microphone and implored people to show up at the Capitol yesterday to protest, to get into good trouble, to let your voices be heard. And I told you yesterday when I came on the air, I have no problem with that. We were a part of an amazing event many moons ago when the state of Tennessee, by the way, was run by Democrats. It was Democrats that had control, and they wanted to implement a state income tax. Some of you weren't here that listened to us, but you're familiar with the history part of this. And hosts from WTN, from another talk station in town, which actually at the time Phil was on. So people gathered at the state capitol, and those who couldn't actually protest would drive around the state capitol during their lunch break or during breakfast or whatever and honk their horns. We were famous for the horn honking. And that actually did something. It actually gave lawmakers pause about actually passing a state income tax. Thank God for it. So we know what it's like to be active, to be loud, and to be peaceful, and not allowing agitators to disrupt what the mission was. Now, there were agitators yesterday. We're going to get into that, but I just want to remind you, there were one or two that got arrested at the state capitol during the tax protests, or at least got hauled off and said, you got to leave. You got to go. So yesterday, all that to say, I have no problem with anybody exercising their constitutional right. I think these days there's so much noise that I don't know that it does any good. And I'm just being honest. In my opinion, what is anybody accomplishing by screaming at the top of your lungs? Are your lawmakers even listening? So yesterday, you had kids who took the day off from school, high schoolers, you had college students, you had parents. I think I heard audio from Jay a little earlier that there was a mother of one of the Waffle House shooting victims who was actually there at the Capitol yesterday. So you had good people there protesting, and that's good. You're exercising your constitutional right to gather, to protest, your First Amendment right to free speech, all of that. Then you had people who decided to go inside the state capitol. I personally wouldn't classify it as storming the capitol. Truthfully, I wouldn't. In fact, I'm going to play some audio from the event yesterday where it was actually pretty cool. You had kids singing a song, and I'm looking at the video. The hallway is jam-packed. It's elbow to elbow. I'm sure as the kids and others, there's adults in here, we're singing, you've got a little bit of spittle. You're that close that it's hitting somebody else, right? It's that jam-packed inside the hallways of the state capitol, right? So I'm going to play a little bit for you because I think this is beautiful. So fight for gun control. I'm going to let it shine. Okay. I mean, it's pretty, but it's unified, right? I don't agree with the message, but it is unified. These people are not stirred into a frenzy. These are pictures of kids, parents, activists, I guess, in there. You've got a lot of signs. Is your AR-15 worth their lives? You've got signs saying enough already, that sort of thing. So that is a peaceful protest outside. I believe this was outside the House chambers, right? Peaceful. Nothing wrong with this. And then you have various state troopers standing around, and I see various news cameras and whatnot. Well, it didn't remain peaceful yesterday. And you had, because I've seen the video, members of your House of Representatives coming out, mingling with the crowd, and start screaming, chanting, and start revving things up. Instead of voices, reasonable voices, peaceful voices, singing, smiling, asking to be heard, you start to get into a frenzy. And you had other agitators in this crowd of students and parents revving everybody up. And then things turned a little different than that peaceful, beautiful singing. That voice is a state lawmaker who grabbed a bullhorn and started screaming on the House floor. Does that sound peaceful to you? Do you think anybody's listening? All right, let's talk more about this when we come back. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 9:19.
At the White House this morning, President Biden was asked to weigh in on the Trump indictment. We'll hear what he had to say. That's coming up at 9:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay. I appreciate it. 924. By the way, the super text line is open, 615-737-9986. We may open up the phone lines as well a little later on in the program. So get your questions ready if you have any about what happened at the state capitol yesterday. By the way, thank you to all those that attended the event at the Parthenon Grill last night. It was a sold-out event, and I did have the opportunity to listen yesterday, and so it seemed like a lot of fun. I have knee issues. I don't know if anybody else at my young age of 20 are you choking in there, Matt? What? Anyway, I don't know if people have knee issues. I've had knee issues my entire life. You know, it's just one of those things, birth defect issues, what have you. But at my young age, I'm actually staring down the face of possible knee replacement surgery in the next year or two. And so I hurt my knee somehow or another yesterday or the day before. So I wasn't able to go last night. I had my knee up with ice on it. So please forgive me, but I heard that it was fantastic. And you got an opportunity to see Matt and Johnny B and Dan Mandis and Brian Wilson, and it was a nice time to just be in fellowship with everybody. So glad you had an opportunity to go. If you've never been to one of these events, you should make plans the next time we have one, and I'm sure there will be plenty coming up. I also want to address, I mentioned earlier that yesterday's protest reminded me a lot of the protests we used to have at the state capitol regarding the state income tax. And I said that the Democrats were in control. I stand by that. I'm getting all these text messages saying, no, Don Sundquist, who was a Republican, he was the one in control. Yes, he was governor, but the legislature, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, they were controlled by the Democrats. And I can't think of the guy's name to save my life, who was, and I may have to text somebody, but I can see his face, kind of a big round face. He was the brother of Pat Sundquist, the basketball coach, Pat Summitt. He was the brother of Pat Summitt, but I can't think of his name right at this second. If you want to text me and send that to me,
Kenneth?
You can. What?
Charles. Tommy? Those are her three brothers.
Name the names again.
Kenneth, Charles, and Tommy Head.
No.
No? Okay.
Somebody's got to send it to me. 737-9986. Maybe it was the brother-in-law. It might be a brother-in-law. But I know that he was related somehow to Pat Summitt, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I'm doing all this from memory here. But I do believe the Democrats were in control at the time. And that was part of the argument with Don Sundquist, is that Don Sundquist was a Republican, but he wanted to do Democrat things like invoke a state income tax, for crying out loud. Jimmy Nafee, that's it. Thank you, whoever you are, 0394. It was Jimmy Nafee. Anyway, yes.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. All right, so when we come back at 9:35, we'll go a little deeper, and I want you to hear from Justin Jones. He was one of those that actually took a bullhorn to the House floor and made comments that could be considered inciting or trying to incite a riot. No rioting happened, and I want to make sure that that's clear, too. No rioting happened, and there was an episode, and you can see the video, too, where state troopers were holding back some of the protesters who were, at that point, stirred up and yelling and screaming and spitting and what have you. And I think his name is Paul Sherrill, one of our lawmakers, was just trying to go to the bathroom, and he had to be escorted into the bathroom and out of the bathroom safely. I think I heard Jeremy Faison this morning on Nashville's Morning News say that if by chance he would have been in the middle of that crowd, they may have beaten the hell out of him. You had some lawmakers who were very afraid. The protesters made kind of a tunnel, if you will. You had protesters on the right and protesters on the left. In the halls of the chamber of the state capitol yesterday, a tunnel where the lawmakers were walking through to get from their offices that's in another building to the House chamber so that they can conduct the work of the people. And I mean, they were being yelled at. Now, it's your constitutional right to yell, but my question is, what was accomplished yesterday? So we're going to hear from Justin Jones, who was one of the three. We're going to hear from the House Speaker, Cameron Sexton, who says this won't be tolerated from lawmakers. There's decorum that should be at play here. There are House rules that have to be abided by. This wasn't good trouble. And I will tell you my opinion on so-called good trouble that these three keep talking about. So it's all straight ahead. Stay with us. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 9:31. We have light rain in the metro and 61 degrees. I'm Jay Harper. Here is what's happening. President Biden, while leaving the White House this morning to head to Mississippi, repeatedly declined to comment on the indictment of former President Donald Trump. ABC's Karen Travers, she has the latest.
President Biden said repeatedly Friday he would not comment on the indictment of former President Donald Trump, despite multiple questions from reporters to him as he was leaving the White House to head to Mississippi.
Are you worried this will further divide our country, the indictment?
I have no comment on that.
Mr. President.
Will protest in the wake of the indictment?
No, I'm not going to talk about Trump's indictment.
The president was also asked what the indictment said about the rule of law in this country and if he felt the charges were politically motivated. He simply said he had no comment on Trump.
Funeral arrangements have been disclosed for the 6 people that were killed in this week's tragedy. The first of the services actually happens today. That will be for 9-year-old Evelyn Dicus. That will take place at Woodmont Christian Church here in Nashville. A private reception will follow. That is the latest. Weather is on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have 2 things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is Friday. Oh, yes, it's Friday. I feel like I can write my own song. It's Friday. Oh, yes, it's Friday. What do you think? So
That's
far,
pretty
so good?
We got a hit on our hands. You might need to make your way over to one of our other stations.
Do some singing
Yeah,
over
that's
there.
it.
All right. Well, it is 9:39 on this Friday. It is supposed to rain. We should have some, or could have some severe weather later this evening. I think I heard, how do you say, is Stephen DiPietro or something like that? Is it Stephen?
Yeah, Stephen DiPietro.
DiPietro. So he said the timeline for Nashville probably around 7 o'clock for any kind of severe weather that may roll through. Just stay weather aware. And we say this, every time that this happens. I don't like the way that this forecast is shaping up. I just have to tell you that. And in fact, I had my roof guy come out to check the tarps. Of course, I said to him, tarps are good. Roofs are better. Shingles are better. When is this going to happen? And they're still negotiating with my insurance company. This has been a wild ride, and I'm sure you do not want to be bored with that. Now, we're talking about the protest that happened at the state capitol. By the way, at 10:05 this morning, we'll start talking about Donald Trump and this indictment, which actually surprised everybody that it came down yesterday. So we're going to get into that and what some of the reaction has been, including the Manhattan DA, who's now accusing GOPers of interfering in this process. What? So we'll talk about that at 10:05. Meanwhile, of course, you've been hearing us talk about the protest that happened yesterday at our state capitol. All I'm hearing is la, 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 la. So that is, I believe that's either Justin Jones talking there in the background, or it is Pearson, and I cannot think of his first name right now. Representative Pearson. And then you have Gloria Johnson standing right beside them on the House floor. They were not being recognized because the business of the House at that moment had nothing to do with gun legislation. They were conducting their normal, everyday business on the House floor. You did have gallery members, and there the gallery is, up to the top of the House. And then you had the House floor. And those members say they felt like they needed to take over because the leader, the speaker, Cameron Sexton, was not hearing them. Well, there's procedures that you go through to get a moment to speak on the House floor, and this was not that. Bullhorns mean you're not talking to your fellow lawmakers. Bullhorns, because the microphones were turned off for these guys. They were not recognized, as they say with the rules of the House. So they took a bullhorn and started shouting at the members of the gallery. That's who their audience really was. They weren't trying to accomplish anything on behalf of the people that they represent. They were trying to stir up the crowd that had gathered, right? And so yesterday, Cameron Sexton talked to our own Brian Wilson about what happened on the House floor. Maybe. Let's see.
You had three members of the Democrat caucus that was trying to incense them and increase the intensity of it over the course of the day, up until those three members interrupted our session and walked into the well and pulled out a bullhorn and really started trying to incite a riot into the House chamber.
Now, see, and if I'm not mistaken, isn't it against the law to try to incite a riot? I mean, that's what we kept being told with January the 6th. That's what they wanted to indict President Trump on. So how is this not the same thing? If That is what happened on January 6th I don't believe is what happened. Donald Trump was blocks away from the Capitol. Do I believe that his actions afterwards, it could have been better? Yes. Do I believe what happened on January 6th was not good? Yes. All of those things, we don't have to rehash that. But if the Democrats are coming after Donald Trump blocks away and accusing him of inciting a riot, then how is what happened yesterday on the House floor in Tennessee not the same thing by these Democrat lawmakers? Somebody, please answer that for me. Here's more from Cameron Sexton with Brian Wilson yesterday afternoon.
We've never had this before. And so we've had members who had fought, from their desk and yelled and screamed, and we've calmed down. We've never had anything like this, I think, in the history of the General Assembly, even in the income tax days.
Yeah, it didn't happen like that in the income tax days. You had people that came into the House. You had people banging on the doors when they actually locked the doors. They felt like it was the safe thing to do, to lock the doors. So you had people banging on the doors of the state capitol during the tax protests, but actual lawmakers out of order taking over the House floor. Now, history was made yesterday, and I'm not so sure it was good history at all. Cameron Sexton told Brian Wilson that they are considering what to do with these three House members.
It can be anything from remove them from committees and doing anything like that. It could be the censure, and ultimately we have the right to expel them if that's the way we want to go.
Now, I think they should be expelled. Can I just be honest with you? I think they should be expelled. They did nothing that is going to serve the people they represent. Whoever is in charge of the House of Representatives, whether it's the Democrats or Republicans, there's always an opposite side. I mean, duh. There's always an opposite side. That opposite side has to figure out a way to be heard to the majority or the supermajority. And taking over the House floor is not getting your message across. That's not calmly coming to leadership and saying, my people are asking for answers. My people, I'm assuming in this case, they say their people want more gun control. Can we have a conversation about that? Now, Justin Jones and Gloria Johnson actually spoke to, I'm not even calling them a media outlet. They spoke to a blogger yesterday. I'm not even going to name who it is. You can figure it out because this guy makes me so angry because he's a pot stirrer. He's an activist. He's not a journalist. And it makes all journalists look bad. But I digress. Gloria Johnson and Justin Jones took to the camera to say why they did what they did yesterday in the House chambers.
I was thing to see was to see high school and middle school students here leaving school
Kids in
strollers standing in the people's house begging this chamber to take their pain seriously, to take their grief and trauma seriously.
By the way, that's okay. Nobody told them to go away and no one told them to stop. Children, high school students, parents, they're all welcome.
And instead of that, we rush over so we can't even talk about the issue and just go about business as normal. And I think one thing I want to say, too, is that there are those who are trying to attempt to portray us as radical.
Yeah.
There are those who are trying to say that what we did was radical.
Yeah.
What is radical are our colleagues who have made it easier to get a gun in this state than it is to get health care. Our colleagues who are so beholden to the NRA, who won't even listen to their own constituents because they've listened to this radical group.
That is just simply not true. But you have to understand, Justin, that the majority of the people in the state of Tennessee respect the Second Amendment and want to be able to defend themselves and want to be able to buy weapons. Now, I agree. You mentioned mental health for just a split second, And on that point, I can agree we need to do more in this state. I can agree with you on that. See, there's actually something we can agree on. But these, quote, listen to who else he calls radical.
That is so extreme. Tennessee Firearms Association, that is radical.
Tennessee Firearms Association is radical?
Inaction is radical. To keep saying that we're going to wait for the next shooting to happen and that our only solution is to put locks on school doors, that is insane. And it is radical to have a body that is so afraid to stand up to a special interest group like the NRA.
No, sir. They're not afraid to stand up to the NRA or the TFA, Tennessee Firearms Association. They agree. They stand with them. There's no need to stand up to them. No one's afraid here. You're so misguided by what I think is your need for fame, sir. Fame. There's more. Stick around. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Former President Trump was reportedly a bit surprised by the timing of yesterday's indictment, and we'll hear from someone personally affected by gun violence who was in attendance at yesterday's protest at the Capitol. That's coming up at 10. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay. 9:56. And, of course, I think a lot of people were taken by surprise by the indictment yesterday of Donald Trump, because we were all told that the grand jury was listening to another case and then would adjourn for about 24 days. So this took a lot of people by a lot of surprise. Great surprise yesterday. We're going to talk about that at 10:05. The fact that history's being made once again, this time with Donald Trump actually being indicted, former president of the United States. All right, let's finish up with Justin Jones, who I believe should be expelled from the House, along with Pearson, Representative Pearson from Memphis and Representative Johnson from Knoxville.
Inaction is radical. To keep saying that we're going to wait for the next shooting to happen and that our only solution is to put locks on school doors, that is insane. And it is radical to have a body that is so afraid to stand up to a special interest group like the NRA that they won't even listen to the vast majority of Tennesseans who are calling on for common sense gun legislation, to ban these militarized guns from our community, to have red flag laws like Representative Johnson introduced that they would not even hear.
Wouldn't mind red flag laws, by the way, but I'm not sure it would have helped anything in this case. That's the point.
And so, what we're seeing is a radical chamber, a radical body who refuses to act. So, as John Lewis said, there comes a time where you have to find a way to get in the way and do something that is out of the ordinary and to get in good trouble. And that was good trouble today, because it was about dramatizing the seriousness of this issue, that this has never happened on the Tennessee floor, because what is going on here needed something that was serious, a serious response to the inaction of this body.
All right, and see here, I'm going to stop you right there, Justin Jones, but here's the problem. By what you did yesterday, now you've cut yourself off at the knees. You cut yourself off at the knees, and now no one, even I would venture to say, even on the Democratic side, is going to listen to what you have to say. You're going to now be punished because you can't do it this way. All right, so it dramatized the situation. That's what you wanted to do? Well, that's what you have accomplished, but then it doesn't accomplish anything for your end goal to do something about guns and to make children safer, because now no one's going to listen to you, sir. And Gloria Johnson, no one's going to listen to you either. Pearson from Memphis, you just got started and you stand a chance of being expelled already. Didn't accomplish a darn thing. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 10 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper. We've got light rain in the area, 61 degrees, a severe weather threat in tonight's forecast. We'll have that forecast for you in a couple of moments. Donald Trump is now the first former president to face a criminal indictment. The focus is said to be hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. Trump is expected to turn himself in New York City next week. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott outside Mar-a-Lago in Florida.
Multiple sources tell us that former President Donald Trump and his advisors were caught off guard, not by the indictment, but by how quickly it came. I'm told that the former president spent his evening calling Republicans over on Capitol Hill, trying to shore up support, telling his allies that it's time to get out there and defend him.
Hundreds of angry anti-gun protesters packed into the Tennessee Capitol on Thursday to demand action from lawmakers. The demonstrators demanded new gun safety regulations, including red flag laws, as well as background checks. Among the protesters was Shondell Brooks, whose son was killed in the 2018 Nashville Waffle House shooting.
I hope it don't hit their front door. I hope they don't lose their children to gun violence. I hope they don't have to feel the pain that I've felt and continue to feel that hole, inside. I hope they don't have to feel that.
That's the latest. Your weather forecast is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It is 10:04. It is Friday. Hallelujah. I'm so glad that it is Friday. I hate that we're looking at storms, but I am very glad that it's Friday. And once those storms roll through, then I think we're looking at 60 degrees, 70-degree days, aren't we? I think we are.
I think that's it. There will be some colder nights Saturday and Sunday, but I think the days will be relatively nice.
I'm all right with cold nights.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know how to warm myself up.
As long as your roof is still there.
As long as I still have a roof, it is all good. That is very, very true. All right, so let's react a little bit to what happened yesterday. There we were, minding our own business, getting ready for the event that was happening down at the Parthenon Grill there in Murfreesboro, and bam, the breaking news occurs that Donald Trump is being indicted, and we've since learned on 34 freaking charges. Are you kidding me? Shocking, because, I mean, I even spoke to a friend of mine. He's a WCBS news anchor in New York City, and he said there was, and I also do some reports for Westwood One, talked to my my news assignment editor guy, and he said no one was watching the courthouse. No one was outside the court because no one expected this to happen. So talk about, I mean, if it came from the Manhattan courthouse, nothing's going to happen. The grand jury's not going to meet until the 24th again. So they did a good job of just having everybody look the other way. No one was paying attention. They were paying attention to Nashville and some other stories going on. And then bam, out of nowhere, 34 indictments handed down, and the president of the United States will have to turn himself in on these charges. We don't know the exact charges. There's been speculation, but we'll find out when the president is arraigned. Then they'll open up the information, and then we'll know exactly what he's being charged with. after recovering from the initial shock of this grand jury indictment against him, President Trump, this is what the headline says, is now raging about the judge who is expected to preside over the case. So first you've got a radical DA who's doing nothing but making politics out of the whole thing. And now Trump is going off on the judge. He'll be arraigned in Manhattan apparently at 2:15 on Tuesday on an array of business fraud charges relating to hush money payments to porn star Daniels and another one as well. He's denied any wrongdoing. He says he's a victim of a politically motivated witch hunt led by Democratic Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. And he's right. Let me make sure I'm clear so that no one misunderstands me. Donald Trump is right. This is a witch hunt. All right, now let's see. I'm not good at math, but if we're talking 2016, when these questions first came up about so-called hush money, that was what? 2016. So let's add this up. I'm going to do the old-fashioned way. I'm going to do my fingers.
Get your fingies out.
I'm going to get my digits out. So 2017, 2018, 2019,
okay.
2020. And I'm going to pause a minute because we were all on pause in 2020. So I'm going to pause. But that's 4 years, right? 2020, 2021.
Got to get a new hand.
2022. 2023.
Yeah.
How many digits do I have up, young Mac?
Okay, this is hard for me. I wasn't great in school, but I'll go with 7.
7, yes, 7. 7 years. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV, but I would think that the statute of limitations has expired on any of this. This is craziness. And so that Manhattan DA, along with members of that grand jury, they're doing nothing but playing politics here. They're making history with it. But I don't believe a thing is going to come of this because it is a weak case. I don't care who you are. It's a weak case. Democrats in the law industry, in law circles, know that this is a weak case. Republicans in the law circles know this is a weak case. So what are you doing? You're wasting our time. You're wasting taxpayer dollars, and you are making a mockery of the President of the United States, that office. You're making a mockery of yourselves. You're making a mockery of the justice system, and it's ridiculous. And you know what else you did? You moron. You know what else you did? You sealed the deal for Donald Trump. You now unified the division within our own party called Republicans. Because now we're unified saying this is outrageous. Now we're unified behind Donald Trump. And you had a lot of people that began to waver, including myself, looking at other people like Ron DeSantis, simply because of just, I'm sick of the rhetoric. A lot of us sick of it. But you know what you've done now? You've sealed the deal. I don't see how he doesn't win at this point, because now we're unified. Yesterday, Judge Juan Merchan was spotted arriving at the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse in casual clothes last night, flanked by 2 security officers, leading many to believe that he had been chosen for the case. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. Merchan previously presided over the Trump Organization fraud trial, where the family business was fined $1.2 million on a range of charges. And then this morning, Trump took to Truth Social to complain that Merchan hates him and had been handpicked by Bragg and his cronies. I don't know. Do DAs have that power to handpick your judge? I don't know about that, but that's what he posted. The judge assigned to my witch hunt case a case that has never been charged before, hates me, Donald Trump said. His name is Juan Manuel Marchin. If I'm saying his name right, would it be, I think it's Marchin, was handpicked by Bragg and the prosecutors, which didn't plead viciously appealing. He also complained about how Merchant railroaded Alan Weisselberg, the former Trump org CFO, into taking a plea deal. Trump claims he forced Weisselberg to admit guilt and that he treated anyone who didn't viciously. Earlier today, Trump attorney Joe Tacopina, am I saying his name right? Y'all can correct me, made a series of early morning TV appearances to fight in his corner. In fact, here's one of the statements that I'm going to call him Fightin' Joe. He's the attorney, Joe Tacopina. This is what he had to say.
He's ready to fight. You know, he's the toughest guy I know. Yeah. And he was shocked, you know, because we really were. I was shocked. I mean, I've never been angrier. My 33 years in this business, both as a prosecutor and defense attorney, I've never been more angry about a charge because today the rule of law in the United States of America died. And it's something that I never thought I'd see. I have goosebumps even saying it because I don't feel good about saying it.
Yeah, who feels good about saying that? He's right. The rule of law in this country died. Now, there are those that are saying he probably would not be put in handcuffs when he's arraigned on Tuesday, and that the Secret Service is working to prevent a circus outside the courthouse. I will say, though, I know the other side, they're looking for that perp walk with him in handcuffs. But if Donald Trump is handcuffed, I hope that he has a smile on his face. In fact, I hope he has that, you know, he has that look, that little smirk where it's like the side smile and just kind of nods his head. And so if he's handcuffed and he's walking that perp walk, I just hope he has that look like, oh, yeah, I'm handcuffed, baby, and it's all right. I hope he does. Did I hear somebody here on WTN? Don't remember who it was. Was it Murphy? Was it Dan Mandis? I'm not sure. But if he doesn't sell T-shirts with his mugshot on it and make money off of that, then he's not the marketing genius we know Trump to be. You know what I mean? Raise money for your campaign or your defense fund, whatever. But if you don't, I mean, I might buy one of those, and I'm not really into Trump apparel per se. I think I have a Trump hat. I think I have a Make America Great Again hat, actually. And another one that says Trump 2024. So, but if he doesn't do that, then he's not the marketing genius that we think he is. Oh, my gosh. And think about this. You'd have merchandise that would be considered historic. Think about that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to help the president with his marketing. The president will not be put in handcuffs. As far as a mugshot, perp walk, I'm sure they will try to make sure they get some joy out of it by parading him, according to the attorney. But this is a different situation. He says you have Secret Service involved. You have a lot of different groups involved. I don't think they're going to allow this to become a circus. It's already a circus. Got news for you. It is a circus. This whole thing has been a circus. He added that even though he is yet to see the actual indictment or know what the specific charges are, he does not believe they are warranted, neither do I. Despite predicting his own arrest, the attorney said he was still shocked that the grand jury did go ahead and decide to indict him, as we all are. Despite all the rumors, we believed and had hoped the rule of law would prevail. Donald Trump was initially shocked. After he got over that, he put a notch on his belt and he, decided we have to fight now. Now he's in typical Donald Trump posture, and he's ready to be combative on something he feels is an injustice. And see, where I have said in the past, and I stand by this, that the left, they know the weakness of Donald Trump. They do. His weakness is vanity. And they harp on that and they hit those buttons from him, and he is reactionary and says some questionable things that don't seem quite presidential, and he goes down this rabbit hole of obsession and whatever, right? So the left knows how to do this. But the other thing that Donald Trump is very, very good at, this is his strength, and it's coming out swinging. This is his strength. When you put him in a battle or you put him in a ring or you put him in the middle of a bunch of New Yorkers trying to screw him, he comes out fighting. And usually he wins. He doesn't stop till he does. So now what have you done? If I could quote one of our former senators, you've poked the bear. You've poked the bear. Some of you will get that. Of course, Trump is going to plead not guilty, and he will immediately begin aggressively fighting this case. So here's what we're going to do. I want to hear from you. I want you to tell me what you think about this indictment. Well, 34 indictments. How on earth can you have 34? You had to pull some indictments out of your rear end to get 34 indictments in this particular case. Holy smokes.
I didn't know that. I just, you're telling me now for the first time.
What is that?
What?
Tiny dancer is what I was hearing, but.
Yeah, it's Donald Trump.
I didn't hear
You didn't hear Donald Trump?
I didn't. I personally didn't, but that's all right. He's more than a tiny dancer is what I was going to say. So 615-737-9986 is the phone number. If you'd like to comment, if you have an opinion on what you think will happen next. What do you think? Does this unite us or does this divide us even more? I want to hear from you guys who just have been through with Donald Trump, because I know there's some of you out there. Does this change it for you in what happened with these indictments? And are you like me? Do you want to see Donald Trump in handcuffs, but doing that smile of, that's all right. That's okay. I've got something up my sleeve. 615-737-9986. You can call or super text. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Now that former President Donald Trump has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury, what can be expected at his arraignment? I'll have that story at 10:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Jay. It is 10:23. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As you know now, the former president of the United States has been indicted on criminal charges, 34 charges, in fact. And it's the first time in American history this has ever happened. Boy, Donald Trump keeps hitting the history books, doesn't he? And so we are reacting now to that on this. I hate to use the term Fun Friday, although, Friday is pretty fun because then you get to go home when you're done with work. But there's so many things happening right now that aren't so fun, and this is one of those things. So I'm getting your reaction to Donald Trump's indictment. Quite frankly, again, I think the morons, if they really thought that they would do Donald Trump in, the morons now have unified, in my opinion, the Republican Party at this point, and they're going to stand behind Donald Trump because this is a witch hunt. It is a very weak case, and it's unified us, in my opinion. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Kathy in Lawrenceburg. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for taking my call. I do think that this will unite the Republican Party, and I think you're absolutely right in saying that they will be supporting Trump.
Yes.
This started out as a deal with Stormy Daniels. And, Bill Clinton done the same thing. To me, if they're going to do this with Trump and base it on that Stormy Daniels, then they need to pull Clinton in, and Clinton needs to pay his due.
There you go. I mean, if it was good enough for them with Bill Clinton, why isn't it good enough now? I agree with you, Kathy. I appreciate your phone call. We've got James over in Lawrence County who's on the line. Hey, James.
Hello. What you said about poking the bear, I lived in Asia for 10 and a half years, and they have a saying there, walk softly and don't wake the dragon.
Yeah, yes.
And I think that we are very close to the point in this country, and I think the left is actually pushing us to it on purpose for an outright civil war.
Well,
and I hate to see that happen because I've lived in countries where civil wars occurred, and I tell you, it is nothing to joke about.
Yeah, it's not.
We're going to divide this country and destroy it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for the phone call. I appreciate it. Have a happy Friday. April in Lafayette. Hey, April.
Oh, my God. Can you believe this is happening to him again? I mean.
Hello? Did we lose?
Oh, my God. Can you believe this is happening to him again? I mean, how much drama are they going to bring up about our president?
April, I think you're in a twilight zone with your cell phone. Call us back because we keep losing you. But oh my God, can you believe this is happening again? I agree. And no, I can't. Let's go to, I believe, is it Filano? Am I saying your name properly, sir?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Hi,
I'm
Filano.
a Hispanic Latino from Nashville, Tennessee.
Excellent.
And I'm telling you, this is, like he says, a witch hunt. And I'm telling you that I'm very concerned about this DA exposing Trump to the public where somebody may have an opportunity to do something. So they always have something under their sleeve, and it's evil.
Well,
so
if you're talking about from a security standpoint, the good news is he still has a Secret Service detail. So that's the good news.
Yes,
and there
presidents have been killed before, and that stuff has happened in the past. So that's my only concern. And I'm telling you, I'm a pastor here in Nashville, Tennessee, for a Hispanic community, and many Latinos are coming to this country, and we are preaching the gospel. We are telling them who we are, and we are focusing on how conservative Latinos are, and they're not coming for socialism. They're pretty much fleeing those countries.
Yes.
for what they're trying to do here.
Yes.
So Democrats think that they're going to get all these votes of all these Latinos coming into U.S., and I got good news for you. They're coming to our churches, they are listening to the gospel, and they're understanding who we really are. So I think when they get the chance to vote, we are going to vote conservative.
Excellent. Thank you, Fulano. Thank you for what you do for our community as a pastor.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right.
And it's just wonderful to be here in Nashville. And my prayers are for all those families too. Let's
Absolutely.
not forget about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Have a blessed day yourself, sir. What a great call. And you know
that
what?
was awesome.
That's actually very affirming that we as conservatives honestly have your best interest in mind here in America, that you can come here through legal channels, come here and live a free life where you can be the best that you could be, where you can be as successful as you want to be if the government will actually get their hands off of you. You're looking at me funny. Oh, yes. I'm supposed to have him on. So Andy Ogles is going to be with us here in a few minutes, I believe at 10:35. I may have booked it for an earlier time and completely because of everything that's going on. So ask Andy to hold. He'll be with us on the program here in just a few minutes. Stick around. We've got news coming up and more of your calls on the way as well. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 10:30. I'm Jay Harper. We're looking at rain in the area, 61 degrees. Severe weather in our forecast tonight. We'll have that forecast in just a moment. Now that Donald Trump has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury, security around the courthouse in downtown Manhattan is heightened. ABC's Aaron Katursky is at the courthouse in Manhattan with more on the arraignment.
It's all going to be highly choreographed. The only thing we know for certain is that the former president will appear in a courtroom at this building behind me to enter a plea, likely of not guilty. And at that point, we'll know the charges. The indictment will be unsealed. Whether the former president has to go through all the formalities of processing like fingerprinting and the taking of a mugshot, we're not sure. His attorney, though, says he will not be handcuffed when he appears here like other criminal defendants are.
That is the latest. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have two things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 10:35. Pamela Furr here. Glad to have you on board on this finally Friday on one hell of a week of craziness in Nashville and in our country, quite frankly. And on the line with us, we have Congressman Andy Ogles to talk about all of the above. Andy, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Where do we start? Donald Trump indicted?
Well, I think for your listeners, whether you're pro-Trump or not pro-Trump, the federal prosecutors declined to do anything in this case. And so it makes you wonder, is there any substance to this investigation, or is it this simply political retribution? And keep in mind, this prosecutor ran for office with this campaign promise, right? And so, again, this seems like a political hit job, not justice. And it was Nancy Pelosi. I think she tweeted it out. She said, now Donald Trump has the opportunity to prove his innocence. Now, wait a minute. In our country, in our judicial system, you're innocent until proven guilty. But it clearly, the facts are before you that this is a political operation. The Democrats, the leftists are afraid of a second Trump administration because he's going to pull back the curtain. Look, you have some of the January 6th people being released from prison early. Why? Because now that we know the facts, now that we've seen the footage and that they were peacefully walking through the hallways, but the Democrats and the J6 committee held this from America.
Right.
What else are they hiding, right?
Right. Right. Yes. And you're right. They're being released early because they know this is all bogus. And so I just never thought I would see the day where they would take something from 7 years ago and hold it against the president. I mean, this is like a last ditch effort to try to convict him for something that he did not do so that they could keep him from running for president. And it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And now you're making fools out of yourselves. And Andy, I don't know if you heard me earlier. I guess I should call you Congressman Ogles. But
Andy's fine.
I know you as Andy. So one of the things that they've done now, and I don't know that they looked at this, but now they're unifying those who were divided in our party. Now they're unifying us.
Look, and full disclosure, I'm no fan of former President Obama. I literally, and I don't say this in a mean way, the sound of his voice makes my blood pressure go up. But I would recoil at the idea that he would be charged with some sort of frivolous crime as part of a politically motivated attack.
Right.
We cannot allow this to happen, guys.
Yeah.
To have the president of the United States or a vice president or a governor that they leave office and then 6 years later, the party of opposition is charging them with a crime that's frivolous. Come on, guys. This is dangerous.
Right.
This is incredibly dangerous. I don't care what side of the aisle you're from, right?
Right. I'm with you. It's incredibly dangerous for the future because now it's setting some sort of precedent. It's insane. All right, let's change the subject here because we're on the same page on that one. What about what happened yesterday at our state capitol? I think you were around when we did our state income tax protest, and everything was fine with students and parents protesting at our state capitol yesterday. Nothing wrong with that. The appalling action was when you had 3 Democrat lawmakers, one from Memphis, Knoxville, and here in Nashville, who decided to take a bullhorn and interrupt a House session. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of Speaker Sexton, and I don't want to put words or make suggestions that he may feel uncomfortable with, but this is unacceptable. Whatever action he seems necessary to respond to this, I would support. I mean, and look, I had a friend that was actually in the gallery, and you had people throwing things from the gallery. That's the balcony, if you're not familiar with the Tennessee General Assembly, to your audience. And they were spitting on legislators. They held up the number 7, implying that there were 7 victims. Let me be clear. There were 6 victims in this shooting, and there was 1 domestic terrorist. And if you think otherwise, you are part of the problem. There were 6 children, 6 victims, 3 of them children. And by God, I am offended at the idea that anyone would try to make that girl a martyr. She broke into that school. She shot her way into the school, and she killed people. And she should be remembered for what she is, a criminal. And I'm pissed off about it, that those people would charge the floor, hold up a number 7, and try to make her something she's not. She's not a hero. She was a scumbag. And to the Metro officers that put her down, God bless you. You're forever a hero.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. To make her out to be a victim when she is not. No, I'm with you, and I hear the passion in your voice, Andy. It's appalling. It is. It makes me sick. It literally makes you sick to your stomach.
That's right. And again, sorry for getting animated, but when I saw that, when they charged the door, when they're spitting on people, and all in an attempt to make something that isn't there, this woman is not a hero. And look, I wish at some point in her life she would have gotten help for the mental illness that she was suffering from, but she didn't. That did not give her the right to go kill people.
Right.
Period. End of story.
End of story. It did not give her that right. All right. Meanwhile, and I think you've probably talked to some other hosts here on the station, but let me go ahead and ask you. And I'll tell you, this is the problem that I have, not with your photo. I don't have a problem with your photo. The problem that I have is that some organizations have taken that photo from 2 years ago and it's resurfacing. And there are those who don't follow the news every day, who aren't as engaged as involved as we are here at WTN, who saw that photo and thought it was something that you just released, even though there's a Christmas tree behind you. But they literally thought it was something that was just released. And so they're criticizing you for being crass and calloused. And in my opinion, I mean, I'm all for free speech, but there are organizations out there who know there are people who don't do deep dives on these kinds of things. So now you have a whole group of people who really don't have a clue that this wasn't released during the time of this shooting. What do you say to those folks? And I don't even know how to respond.
Well, again, I mean, take a deep breath, look at the photograph. There's a Christmas tree
right.
in the background.
Right.
My 7-year-old is holding a little sign that says Merry Christmas or something. It's Easter, folks. This picture is 2 years old. And furthermore, someone has gone through all of our social media posts. So our youngest is soon to be 8. And has found a picture from when our baby, he's not our baby anymore, was a baby, in the 1 year age mark, has found a gun of me holding him, and he's got a toy gun. It's a toy. And if you click on the picture and you zoom in on it, you can tell that it's molded plastic. And Newsweek ran a story saying, did Congressman Ogles let a toddler hold a gun? It's like, come on, people. I mean, they are looking for a reason to talk about their agenda. Right. Their agenda is to take away your constitutional right to bear arms. I will not relent. I will not back down. It's in the Constitution. I had a reporter ask me, do you regret taking that photograph? Let me answer it this way. I do not regret taking a photograph with my family of any kind. And secondly, I do not regret exercising my constitutional right. This should be a conversation in context of this shooting about the mental illness that is sweeping this country. And what can we do to get mental health services into our schools? And maybe, just maybe, instead of talking about woke transgender crap in our schools, that we're talking about mental health issues, we could simply divert those money to that issue. And maybe, just maybe, we help a child in jeopardy.
Well, now, is that something that you are looking at doing yourself as a congressman, talking to other congressmen there in D.C. about what kind of funding could be allocated to different states to go specifically for mental health issues and funding, getting more and maybe even better counselors in our schools so that they can see that this person really does have a problem and we need to address this. And that's public schools. What about the private schools? This girl, well, she's a 28-year-old woman when she pulled the trigger, but at some point she was going to private schools. So how do we help the private schools as well, the private sector?
Yeah, and so, when it comes to the Department of Education, unfortunately, Congress is a big ship that turns slowly. The quickest action that could be done at any level would be at the state level. So it would be the Tennessee General Assembly.
Yep.
So yes, I would be an advocate for earmarking some of the dollars that are already being spent. And quite frankly, we all know that the Department of Education is broken and there's money that's being wasted and there's money that could be used more wisely to see, hey, how can we help support our school districts and support those children that are in crisis? And look, it doesn't have to be this severe. You have kids that are going through tough things at home, right? Broken homes, financial troubles, even some of the bullying and those types of things that take place because kids will be kids, right? But, how can we provide better services for our children? But again, so much about the education system is driven by an agenda versus better outcomes being the health of our kids, of course, but reading, writing, arithmetic, okay?
Right.
And so, but again, for me, I'm very much of a states' rights person.
Yeah.
I would much rather block grant monies, whether it's transportation, healthcare, or education, back to Tennessee and let Tennessee, I trust our leadership. I trust our governor. I trust Cameron Sexton. I trust the lieutenant governor and the General Assembly to better manage those dollars than members of Congress up here. And let's be honest. I mean, you know me as a conservative. So if you're a school district in the left coast of California, you don't want me writing your curriculum.
Right.
I get that.
Right.
But that means I don't want that congressman writing my
ours,
curriculum for my side, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's a give and take. We're a Republic of free state, and let's honor that.
Sure.
And so, Ronald Reagan warned us. The scariest phrase in the English language was, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
Yes.
I think what we have to prevent is from Congress overreacting.
Sure.
Whether it's the shooting like this, or even the banking crisis. I'm on the committee of jurisdiction, and my biggest fear is that Congress may overreact to what's going on in the banking system right now. And so let's take a breath. Let's evaluate the situation and the problem, and let's come up with a reasonable outcome.
It is 10:48. I've got to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to have to let you go. Congressman, will you be in town this weekend, and will you be attending any of these services for the victims who were shot and killed?
I actually was scheduled. I'm working this weekend up here in D.C., and so I will not be in Nashville. And quite frankly, I would not want to be a distraction. This is not about me. This is about the family. This is about the community. I've been in constant communication with local officials, and I will be in communication with those affected by this at the appropriate time, and not when there's news cameras around, because this isn't about me. It's about them and their healing.
Yeah.
And again, because I am so Second Amendment, last thing I would want is for my position on guns to become a distraction for what otherwise should be a very unifying event for our community.
Yeah. Thank you so much for checking in with us today, Congressman Andy Ogles. Have yourself a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
You as well. God bless.
All right, bye. It is now 10:49. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll take more of your calls again to get your reaction. You can react now to what Andy Ogles had to say. You can react to Donald Trump and his indictment. Does this now unify you? I especially want to hear from you guys who have been critical of Donald Trump, because I know you're out there. 615-737-9986 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The indictment of former President Donald Trump by a Manhattan grand jury still tops our news. I'll have more on the story at 11. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, it's definitely at the top of the news, at top of everybody's minds. What in the world is happening to our country? What in the world is happening to America? We'll be listening for that at 11 o'clock. Now, after 11, I'm going to change the subject just a little bit, just for a little bit of time. That it's not going to be about the shootings. It's not going to be what happened at the state capitol. It's not going to be about Donald Trump. But it is going to be about Twitter and a change they're getting ready to make that could cause some serious problems in the future. No joke. If you are an information lover, as I am, and a fact lover, as I am, it could cause some issues. So we will talk about that at 11:05. Meanwhile, Michael is in Tullahoma on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, Michael. Good morning.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Glad you're with us.
Questions.
Yes.
2 short questions. Why is no one talking about a Trump-DeSantis ticket? That's a guaranteed win. And second, we have a tool in the Constitution that will allow us to remove corrupt governments. Article 5 of the Constitution, Convention of States. Why is no one talking about that? Thank you.
You're welcome. There are a lot of people that do talk about the Convention of States. I am not an expert. Phil Valentine really was. I am not an expert on that, so I can't answer that. But I can say, why isn't anybody talking about a Trump-DeSantis ticket? A lot of people have mentioned that, but I got to be honest with you. Do you want DeSantis as a vice president? I think he could be more effective in a bigger leadership role, quite frankly. And let's just be honest, vice presidency doesn't mean a whole lot. Of course, I guess you can make it whatever you want it to be, but most of the time, vice presidents just get relegated to, plant openings and trips abroad just to be the face of America, saying howdy, how are you? America loves our partnership. You know what I mean? They're more of a face instead of actually somebody in there rolling up their sleeves and doing something, even though Kamala has been given a couple of assignments and she's done nothing with them. So they have talked about that. It might be more strategic if Donald Trump thinks of a Nikki Haley or a Tim Scott or somebody like that as a VP pick.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things on paper that looks really good. Those two together, DeSantis and Trump. But really, when you think about it realistically, would those two actually be willing to get together and work together?
And again, and the role of vice president isn't as effective as you might think it is. So, yes, with you, Mac. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael, the caller from Tullahoma, and thank you to the rest of you who are holding. More of your calls coming up, and this story on Twitter that may make life a little bit of hell if you like facts. It's coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 11 a.m. I'm Jay Harper. We do have rain in the area, 61 degrees, a severe weather threat in tonight's forecast. We'll have that forecast for you in just a couple of minutes. Now that Donald Trump has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury, security around the courthouse in downtown Manhattan has been heightened. ABC's Aaron Katursky is at the courthouse in downtown New York and has more on the arraignment.
It's all going to be highly choreographed. The only thing we know for certain is that the former president will appear in a courtroom at this building behind me to enter a plea, likely of not guilty. And at that point, we'll know the charges. The indictment will be unsealed. Whether the former president has to go through all the formalities of processing like fingerprinting and the taking of a mugshot, we're not sure. His attorney, though, says he will not be handcuffed when he appears here like other criminal defendants are.
And here is that Trump attorney, Joe Tacopina, speaking to ABC's George Stephanopoulos this morning about what he thinks the arraignment could look like.
I'm sure they'll try and get every ounce of publicity they can from this thing. The president will not be put in handcuffs. As far as the mugshot's concerned, perp walk, I mean, as I said, I'm sure they'll try to make sure they get some, joy out of this by parading him.
President Biden, while leaving the White House today to head to Mississippi, repeatedly declined to comment on the Trump indictment.
Parties against Trump are politically motivated. I have no comment on Trump.
And just on a quick light note, if you were planning on heading to the Nashville Sounds game this evening, it has been postponed due to that threatening weather. They are rescheduling that tomorrow as a doubleheader. So there's some lighter news for you here this morning. That is the latest. The weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Lordy, it's 11:40. No, it's 11:04. I am Pamela Furr. How are you doing? It's finally Friday. Thank God. This has been a very excruciating week. This has been a tough week for all of us here in Middle Tennessee. By the way, let me note this, and then we're going to get on with our stories. We're going to talk about Twitter and something that they're about to do that could cause some problems. We'll continue to talk about Donald Trump and his indictment and some information that we've learned about that. We have some funeral services that begin today, one of the 6 victims being memorialized today and laid to rest. And we're entering into that season where that's going to happen for the next 4 or 5 days. So we're in a period of mourning right now in Middle Tennessee. So there are all these things, and we are learning more and more about the shooter, and we are learning more and more about the shooter's past. And of course, we continue to demand we need to release that manifesto. Don't redact it. Don't redact it. Do we trust the FBI not to redact it? No. Anyway, so those things, of course, are top of mind. But I wanted to tell you about this. I saw this actually on Robbie Starbuck's Twitter feed, that there is going to be a day of prayer for Nashville. And it's going to happen tomorrow at 5 o'clock at the War Memorial Plaza. That's on 6th Avenue. So if you want to join with your fellow believers tomorrow to pray for Nashville at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, you can. This is not an April Fool's joke or anything like that. Now, I am seeing stories that the Day of Trans Revenge or something, that protest has actually been canceled. It was supposed to happen in D.C. tomorrow, and they've canceled it. I think they said because of rain. So I was going to say something very inappropriate. I'm glad I stopped myself, Mac. That would have been really, really bad. At any rate,
nice self-control.
A little bit of self-control there. But I
wish you would have said. I don't know what it was, but I was excited.
Apparently, rain scares some folks away. So we will, they will, I guess, schedule it another time. Unless it's an April Fool's joke to say that it's canceled and then suddenly they show up. You know what I mean? You can never trust anything on April Fools. So, but I think you can trust Robbie Starbuck in saying that there will be a day of prayer for Nashville tomorrow at 5 o'clock at the War Memorial Plaza here in Nashville. All right, let's get to the story. Where did the story go? Oh, my goodness. Where is it? Tomorrow, on April Fool's Day, which is just so crazy, it just happens to happen on that day, unless Elon Musk comes out and says, April Fools, I'm just kidding. But apparently a big change coming to Twitter. Elon Musk is making good on his promise to do away with the free blue check marks and start charging an $8 fee for Twitter Blue. Now, I'm already paying for Twitter Blue. And trust me, I've gotten made fun of because I'm paying for my Twitter Blue check mark. I'm not paying for it so that you think I'm some sort of legitimate entity. I already know I'm a legitimate entity. I do have that blue check mark on my Facebook and Instagram accounts. I don't know why I could never get it for Twitter, but I couldn't. And so when the opportunity presented itself where I could get a blue check mark on Twitter, I decided to pay for it. Now, I'm paying for it so that I can edit, because I am notorious for spelling things in a broadcast manner, more for pronunciation instead of I'm making excuses. Sometimes I don't spell things right. I don't spell. And so I got it for the edit feature, but I'm going to tell you that I rely on, and it may seem so minute in everything that's going on in the world, but here's why I think it's important. I personally rely on that blue check when I'm looking at Twitter feeds to make sure this person is legitimately who they say they are. Because trust me, there are some weirdos out there and people who like to stir it up. They like to put out fake accounts. I know people that actually have purchased accounts of famous names, whether it's in the news business, celebrity, music business, whatever, of famous names, and are paying the blue check fee just so you'll think it's legitimate. And so I think this is going to be a little chaotic, because at least with those blue checks, you could count on the fact that it was an official account from blah, whoever. I'm going to use Mac Maury as an example. Let's say he was a very important figure in this world of news, and you
not
were
too far off,
right? And you were waiting for his statement on whatever. Like you were waiting for his official statement on Donald Trump being indicted, and yet he doesn't have a blue check on his name, but somebody else purchased an account that has his name on it. It looks legit. That makes some asinine statement that the world is going to just their heads are going to explode by whatever statement that is. And then he didn't actually say it. It was not officially from his office. I think this is going to be chaotic, quite frankly. And for you that are looking for legitimate news stories and you're looking for that blue check to make sure you're not sharing something that is nefarious, that is from a news source that isn't really a news source. It's some kid somewhere screwing with you. I mean, how are you going to be able to tell? Now, there are some, let me think. There are blue check marks that will remain. There'll be gold check marks for paying organizations and gray check marks for a government or some other paying group. But everybody's got to pay. I don't mind that, Elon Musk, but I think there should be something different than a blue check when you're talking about official organizations. Now, again, gold check marks for paying organizations, gray check marks for government. If you're talking about a news reporter that has gone to their own personal Twitter to add breaking news information, we have to make sure that they are legitimately a news reporter and not just some blogger trying to stir up crap. Tennessee holler. Or anybody like that. So,
what was that?
Tennessee holler.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Anyway.
Oh, this super tech. I'm sorry, Pamela.
Sure, no.
Corey says,
can participate in the show. This is you are part of the show.
Corey said, "Well, that was rude, Mac. You are a big name in news." Thank you, Corey. I appreciate that. My gosh,
you are a big deal. You are just like what's his face on Anchorman. I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's go to the phone. 737-9986 as we wrap up this Friday. That was just something a little different than the norm today to talk about. And again, some may not think it's very serious. I think it is. I am a news junkie, I'm a fact junkie, I'm an information junkie. And you have to be able to rely on your sources to give you accurate information. And you really have to make sure you're careful now at this point if the official blue checks are going away, the free blue checks are going away, and now it's all paid for. You got to be really, really careful. All right, let's go to David in the borough. Hey, David, welcome to the show.
Pamela, thank you so much for taking my call. I'd first like to say it's an absolute honor to be speaking with a woman that has such a voice to make a good man write bad checks.
Okay.
All right, now, you're asking for people that have voted for Donald Trump that won't do it again. I'm one of them. And this is my reason why, okay?
Yep.
I'm looking for more of a 2.0 version of him. This whole song and dance shtick that he does before is working against him, and this is why. You see this horse hockey that's going on up in New York, right?
Right.
You think it's bad now. That's exactly what they're going to do. They'll hamstring him, tie his hands, and we as a country will get absolutely nothing done.
And that's Donald Trump's fault.
No, it's not Donald Trump's fault, but it's part of his personality. He's a bit bombastic. I don't think he's quite learned the elegance that it's going to take to deal with these jerkwads.
Well, I don't know that there is any elegance to deal with people who are out to see you die. And I don't mean that literally, your career die. I don't know that there is an elegant way to deal with people who are on a witch hunt. Now, that being said, I agree with you. He's bombastic. I agree with you that there are times he says things and tweets things or Truth Social things, however you say it, that are not appropriate. But my question to you is, what happened with the DA's office with these indictments? Does that not unite you to get behind Donald Trump?
No, not necessarily. If anything, it affirms my belief. See, what he does, he polarizes the opposition so greatly that that's going to be a detriment.
Maybe. I don't see it that way, but maybe. And I will tell you that, David, thank you for your telephone call. I appreciate it today. I will say this. They have negotiated in this case when he's scheduled to be arraigned at 2:15 New York time on Tuesday. They have arranged that he will turn himself in, but he is not going to be handcuffed. And so they're not going to be able to use that shot for any kind of propaganda, they being the other side. Of course, that also means that we can't use it for our propaganda on our side. Again, I had this picture in my head of Donald Trump, hands behind his back, but with this look like, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? And so that would bring me great pleasure. David, though, I appreciate your phone call, though, and being very honest about this does nothing for you as someone who thinks that another Donald Trump presidency is not the way to go for our country. I appreciate that. I respect that. I don't agree with you in the reasons that you gave, but thank you for your phone call. I'm not a never Trumper. I'm cautious this time person, but I'm not a never Trumper because I am 100% convinced that he did amazing things for this country that I could have never even fathomed. And people around the world, leaders around the world, loved Donald Trump. And if they didn't love him, they certainly feared and respected him. And that's priceless. You can't put a price on that. Mike in the borough. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good morning, Pam.
Good morning.
You poo-pooed on the other caller's comment about the Trump-DeSantis ticket. Let me run this by you.
Hold on. I didn't completely poo-poo it. I don't know if it's as strong as it could be, but go ahead.
Well, let me run this by you.
Sure.
Just think about Trump getting elected 4 more years, and then we would have DeSantis possibly running for 8 years. So that would be a 12-year Republican control possibly in the White House.
It still could be, even if DeSantis isn't the VP pick.
Well, yeah, but I still think that with the poll numbers and all that, Trump is going to win. I think no matter what. But I think that will give everybody what they really want, and I think that's the way to go. I think DeSantis is wooing a lot of people over slowly but surely, and I'm one of those.
Yeah.
I voted for Trump, and I'm one of those that say that he's done great things. Like you said, he's bombastic. He don't know when to keep his mouth shut. And I think DeSantis may, if he decides to run, may pull this out. But that's my thoughts.
It would certainly be a strong ticket. Thank you, Mike in the borough. I appreciate your phone call. Of course, it would be a strong ticket. I just think maybe Ron DeSantis would be better served staying as governor in Florida. But if you're looking at it from the 2028 standpoint, it is easier for a VP to then run for president and become president of the United States. So that part I concede. You are completely right on that. It is 11:20. We'll take a break and we'll take some more of your phone calls. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. You can also super text us. That number is the same, 615-737-9986. It's Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
In the wake of former President Donald Trump's indictment, security is heightened in both New York and Palm Beach, Florida, where the former president is holed up. I'll have those details at 11:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. I appreciate it. Apparently, anti-Trump protesters are now swarming Trump Tower in New York City. But here, that's the headline. And they've got this big banner that says "Arrest Trump." But I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So can't swarm too much with just 10 people. That's more like just a nuisance, and you just, ignore and just go about your day. But anyway, that is the headline on Daily Mail. If jailed, okay, this is hilarious. Now news organizations are saying these things. If jailed, Trump would most likely be held at Rikers Island in the infirmary with a concrete box to exercise in and 2 Secret Service agents outside his cell. And that's coming from a professor of criminal justice. Now, y'all, seriously, come on. There's no way. Now, I've been proven wrong before on these. There's no way that's going to happen. But come on. A former president of the United States, when we're talking about a check made out to whoever it was hush money. He says it wasn't. He didn't do anything wrong. Regardless, we're talking about money with very loose women. There's another word I want to use that people would really, really get mad at me for using. But loose women, to get them to just hush. It's go away money. You're a nuisance. And I have certainly learned something in my old age, and that is when you have a lot of money, people want it. And so people will do things, say things, accuse you of things, and it's nothing to just say, here's $50,000, go away. It's not, I'm guilty of anything. It's just, I don't even want to deal with this. I don't want to hire attorneys. I don't want to deal with this headache. This is an aspirin to me. Go. 50 grand, go away. 737-9986 is the telephone number. Let's go to Ray. Hey, Ray.
Hello, Pamela. Thank you. I really, really like DeSantis, and I think DeSantis would be a Trump with political polish. But because of what has happened, I will vote for President Trump now, no matter what. If he's behind bars and still running, I will vote for him. And to me, this is the biggest proof we could have that the nation has a two-tiered justice system now. And I believe that the reason that there's 34 accounts is that Bragg treated each payment to Stormy Daniels as an indictment. I may be wrong, but I think that's what's going on there. And I tell you, if the Republicans don't wake up now, they never will. If there ought to be some Bidens behind bars from all this stuff going on with China, extortion money.
You're right, Ray. I mean, talk about bigger deals. That's a bigger deal than this little nuisance go away money. This is insanity. I agree with you. And I think what you just said, more people are going to feel like you. No matter what, Donald Trump's my guy after this. And so it's unifying us as a party. I think it is. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. I appreciate your telephone call. Let's go to Bonnie in Lebanon. Hey, Bonnie.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to comment and say I'm sorry. I didn't think he was going to come to me so quick. But I was just wanting to say that there's a lot of people, that do things wrong, especially a lot of Christians. There's preachers. I know there's a preacher up in Nashville. He killed somebody one time, went to prison, got out. Now he's a preacher. I mean, so what if he was with a prostitute? That's his business. And a lot of good men do this stuff. And I am a Trump girl, and I will vote for Trump.
All right. Thank you, Bonnie, for your phone call. Let's go to Haley before we go to news. Is it Haley or is it Allie?
Sally.
Sally, neither.
Right.
Hey, Sally, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Long-time listener.
Appreciate it. What's your comment?
Just that I'm a gay woman. I'm voting for Trump. We're not all Democrats, first of all. Second of all, Miss Phil. Third of all, that being said, I'm concerned about the voter machines. I mean, you can put anybody in office you want, but those voter machines, if they're going to mess around with those again, we don't have prayer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've got to look out for the shenanigans that the Democrats. Now, right now, they're hoping that Trump won't even get there. They're hoping to indict him and then convict him of a federal crime so that he wouldn't be eligible to run again. That's the maneuver they're playing now. So if that maneuver doesn't play out and it doesn't work for them, then yes, we have to start looking to the states that had some shenanigans happen in the last election and make sure that doesn't happen again. We're lucky here in Tennessee, we didn't have that problem. Can't say that about other states.
That's right. And
Yeah.
we got to get that fixed. No matter who goes in there, we got to get that fixed.
Agreed. Thank you, Sally. Have a good day. All right. Thank you for calling. It is 11:30. It's time for news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Coming up on the 11:31, I'm Jay Harper. Good morning. We've got some scattered showers, 61 degrees in Music City. Severe weather in our forecast this evening. We'll have a complete forecast in just a bit. With the indictment of former President Donald Trump by a Manhattan grand jury, security around the courthouse in downtown Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida, are being heightened. Trump is expected to turn himself in next week. ABC's Jay O'Brien is at Mar-a-Lago in Florida.
I can tell you here at Mar-a-Lago, though, over the next few days, there are expected to be Trump supporters out here rallying for the former president. He has called for protests. And I can also tell you, I spoke with sources here in West Palm Beach, Florida. They say they are prepared from a security perspective to deal with those protests and to deal with any anti-Trump protests that might arise.
That is the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have two things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 11:36. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you today. Yeah, we are looking at some severe weather that could occur tonight. In fact, if you're a national, I'm not the greatest baseball fan. I'll just have to be honest. I'm not a big baseball fan, and I think today is opening day, isn't it, or was it yesterday?
Home opener. Are you talking about MLB? Yesterday was opening day. Yes.
So today, yes, correct. So today, the Nashville Sounds, it is their home opening game.
Yes.
And they are postponing it because of the severe weather or the potential for severe weather. So if you were planning on going to that game, it's now being postponed, and there's going to be a doubleheader tomorrow.
Yep.
Are you a big Nashville Sounds fan?
I love going to the Sounds games.
Awesome.
I love it. Yes, so much fun. Great park.
All right. Now, can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I've yet to go to a game at this new park. And see, it's not new anymore, is it?
No, I was about to say it ain't new anymore.
It
is a blast, Pamela. Seriously, so much to do. Great food, really pretty. I mean, it's just beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Now, I've been there. I've poked my head in.
Of course. Okay.
We had a blood drive for blood assurance out there a couple of years ago. So I poked my head in, yes, and it looks outstanding.
So fun.
Oh, I need to go to, because I used to go to Sound games all the time at Greer Stadium. And so I need to do it again because it was just always a fun thing to do. If you like date night or that kind of. So, but I hear this park is a lot more fun than what Greer Stadium was. So I need to do that, and I apologize. So, but doubleheader tomorrow. So if you're a Nashville Sounds fan, you can use your tickets for a game tomorrow. All right, let's move on now, shall we? As we recap the entire week. I don't know about you, but now that I'm looking at Friday, I'm thinking, just kind of a collective exhale after all the things that have happened this week, all the things that we have been through. And, I'm going to say this one more time, and I am going to take your phone call, 615-737-9986. We kind of do that on Fridays, don't we? We open up the phone lines and let you vent. But I want to say this to our Metro Nashville police officers and our Metro Nashville firefighters and first responders. Thank you. Thank you for everything you did on Monday. Thank you for everything you do every day for our community. You guys and gals are bad A's, as Dan Mandis likes to say. It's true, and you prove it every single day. Not only on Monday, but you prove it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. And we are very lucky to have you. We are very blessed as a community to have you. And so if you hear anything else from me today, I hope my officers, my firefighters know that we are grateful. We are thankful. And let me give a shout out to the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Those are the official law enforcement officers for the state capitol, if I'm not mistaken. And so you had members of the Tennessee Highway Patrol yesterday doing their job by keeping the crowd of thousands, right, or hundreds up to about 1,000, maybe 1,500 people, keeping them at bay, keeping them calmish, so that the powder keg that was underneath didn't explode. Not literally, just figuratively. So thank you to our Tennessee Highway Patrol and those men and women in uniform for what you do to keep things in line on our streets, on our highways, and there at the state capitol. So if you hear nothing else from me, I want to make sure that you know that we are grateful. A funeral service will take place today for one of the victims of the shooting on Monday. We pray for the families and we pray for the friends who will gather today to say goodbye. It's not easy. We have been through this with Phil Valentine, and everybody has a story. Certainly not like this, of how viciously your loved one was removed from you, but we can all empathize and sympathize, and we can pray. And so I implore you to absolutely pray for those families today. There's supposed to be a day of prayer for Nashville tomorrow. If you don't have anything to do tomorrow, at 5 p.m. tomorrow at War Memorial Plaza, there will be a prayer vigil. And with that prayer vigil, you can say for yourselves, thank you. You can thank God for our men and women in uniform. You can thank God for our firefighters and first responders. And you can pray for the families. All right. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. Kelly in the borough. Hey, Kelly.
Hi there. This is not what I'm calling about, but after hearing what you just spoke about, just total unbelievable performance by the first responders Monday. And, of course, 2 of those got a lot of the accolades, but there were, 5 or more?
Yeah, there were quite a few.
They were all just as brave, just as contributed just as much. It's just those 2 happened to be the ones that faced off with
right
perpetrator. But very quickly, just wanted to send something. Your last caller mentioned if we can't, that as she said, no matter what kind of candidate we put up, and I feel trivial talking about politics after.
No. Of course. Not a problem.
Open phones.
Yes.
So as far as the reliability or trust in the voting act, actually the voting machines, everybody seems to forget, like right now, Fox News, I think they have like a $1.3 or $1.6 billion suit against them from Dominion voting systems, saying that they, defamed them by saying they were unreliable. But what I haven't heard anybody mention, and I hope this sort of blossoms and goes up the flagpole with information, a few years before that, probably around the 2016 election, give or take, seems like it was a little bit before, the Democrats were having hearings. I mean, they were formally, what I saw was formal, in a formal setting, saying the Dominion voting machines were too open for hacking. They didn't trust them. Of course, I think at that time they were afraid they were going to lose, so they wanted to set the stage that, we could be hacked, which is probably true, that they are open for hacking. But the one that I remember discussing it among several other Democrats was Amy Klobuchar. Nobody ever mentions that they were not okay with Dominion voting machines, but it's all forgotten. The Democrats used to rely on smoke and mirrors. They don't even bother with the smoke and mirrors anymore. They're just dishonest.
Right.
They have to use them. But anyway, if as this goes on and people are getting more and more afraid to say anything that might, be construed as disinformation, they are ignoring the fact that the Democrats were saying the very same thing. Everybody's ducking for cover, including the Republicans are so afraid that nobody says, wait, you guys were saying this. And somebody needs to mention that as it,
Well, and you did. You did.
I hope it goes up. I hope it goes up the ladder and somebody else hears it.
Yeah.
But Amy Klobuchar was the one that I remember saying a lot, and she was flanked by other Democrats that were saying the same thing.
Got to run on that note. Thank you, Kelly in the borough, for calling today and having your voice heard. Let's go to Shane in Franklin. Hi, Shane.
Hey, I was calling in response to someone, a caller earlier, who said essentially she doesn't care that Trump, cheated on his wife with a porn star or prostitute, saying, conflating the two, sure, whatever. I think that's part of the problem, and I'll tell you up front, I'm a never Trumper. I don't really care for DeSantis because I think he's picking fights with Disney and things like that when he could actually be improving Florida in other ways, but I don't like Trump, it really unnerves me how many people who say they're Christian and would not accept the things that he's done in his life. They wouldn't accept that with family members. They wouldn't accept that with friends, but because he's a president, okay, fine, we're okay with it. He's honest, but he's, cheated on all 3 of his wives. He's a good businessman, even though, there have been, claims since the 80s that he's cheated people out of money and things like that. And maybe those are all, maybe those stories are untrue.
Well, see, and that's the thing, Shane. I think because Donald Trump has said that he did not have sex, did not have sex with that prostitute. So, that's not to say that he's never cheated on Melania. We don't know. Only God knows, and Melania and Donald Trump. Let me ask you: if you're not you're a never Trumper, if you are not for Ron DeSantis, who are you for?
Nobody that's shown up yet.
Gotcha.
I was really into Kasich when he was running, the first time with Trump, because he was kind of like a Mitt Romney. He was somebody, you can say he's establishment, you can say other things like he's a rhino or whatever, but realistically, if you don't have a supermajority, you're not going to be able to get anything done. And he was the kind of person who said, "Hey, I'll bend to get, something rather than nothing, because that's what our government is a compromise."
Mm-hmm.
And, unless we want to do what we're doing in Tennessee, where we have a supermajority, we gerrymander the crap out of the districts, and then we pass things that half the people don't like, and then we complain when they protest.
Shane, can I just be honest with you?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
Sure.
You don't sound like a Republican to me.
I'm not a Republican. Never said I was.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a Democrat either.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
I am what I guess you would call an independent. I don't like Joe Biden, and I didn't like Trump.
Gotcha.
I just like them for different reasons.
Gotcha.
So
you're a man without a leader.
I am very much, and I am in my early 40s, and I haven't seen. And here's the thing: if Trump were a honorable person in his private life, I would be much more apt to agree, to be able to understand. Hey, we disagree on policy of this or that, but I
for
believe
you,
you're in the right place.
Yeah, but for you, his private life is a big problem for you. Got it.
Well, yes, because he's, and it goes back to what the other caller was saying about the preacher who murdered somebody. Okay, he was in his early 20s, I believe, when he did that. He was a drug addict, went to jail. As we say, he did the crime, he did the time, came out, repented.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that people don't seem to seem to remember is,
well, do you know
repent.
that Trump hasn't repented for his past mistakes?
He said it as much. He was interviewed by someone, and he says, "Have you ever asked for forgiveness?" And he said, "Why would I need to?" And he said, "No." And this was before he got elected.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Shane, I gotta go. I gotta go on that note because I am up against the clock. Thank you for your phone call. Again, everybody is welcome to call this show. You do not have to be a conservative to call this show, and I'll be as respectful to you as I possibly can. Disagree with you, Shane, and I don't think there's a statute of limitations on forgiveness, whether you ask for it or not. I can certainly forgive people of their failings. You know why? Because I have failed so many times. All right, it's 10 to noon. We'll wrap up the program when we come back. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, we've got about 3 minutes or so left in the program. I am Pamela Furr here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy is coming up at noon, and I didn't realize but today is his Bold Patriot Day. So he will be broadcasting live at the Bold Patriot Brewery, which is on the west side of town. L&N Market, I do believe, is the building, but it is off of Charlotte in West Nashville. So feel free, if you get an opportunity, to go grab a beer. I might even stop by and harass him. You just never know. But I do hear that he's got Brink Fiddler on today. He's with Defense Systems to talk a little bit more about what happened on Monday. You've got Representative Tim Burchett coming on, and then House Speaker Cameron Sexton. The last we heard from Cameron Sexton was yesterday, not only on Brian Wilson's show, but Halloran Hilton Hill's show there in Knoxville, where he said they are going to look at action to be taken against those three House members, Gloria Johnson, Pearson out of Memphis, and Jones here in Nashville, looking at what they can do to those three who knew better than to try to take over the House yesterday and make a spectacle out of everything there that we hold dear in our state capital. Those people protesting had every right to protest. Those kids that were there, those teenagers that were there, and parents that were there, including the Waffle House shooter mom that was there asking legislators to do something, had every right to do that. They were exercising their First Amendment rights. They were exercising their right to protest. And they got loud. It's true, which they are allowed to do. But you are not allowed to just suddenly try to take over on the House floor with a bullhorn, and all you've done is you've cut yourself off at the knees, and you now at this point are not going to be able to represent your people effectively. Even if you are Democrats, you were elected by your people to represent them, and you have absolutely ended that, because no one's going to listen to you anymore. All right, that's it for me. That's my statement on that. Pray for Nashville. Pray for the families going through funerals this week. More with Matt Murphy coming up at noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.